Yeah.
Welcome to the Actionable ESG Talk series brought to you by K5, Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, the world's first non-profit industry association committed to bridging the gap between ESG, sustainability and digital transformation, and of course AI. Actionable ESG Talks series bring together great minds to discuss the current state and future states of ESG sustainability and digital transformation. I'm delighted to be here with our guest, Oliver Falkmoon. Falk, okay, please help me again with the pronunciation.
It's called Fagboom.
Falkmoon.
Yeah.
Uh, He has served significant roles in data sciences and machine learning, including leading in the development of data platforms and recommendation systems. He has a diverse experience and commitment to innovation, and that makes him a prominent figure in the field of AI-powered sustainability solutions. So I'm very happy to hear AI and sustainability in the same sentence. Welcome to us again.
Yeah, thank you
Of
for
the
having me.
conversation, most welcome. Uh, to um, to kick off the conversation, I usually start with a question about trends and the perspectives of Green IQ impact. And as you work in AI carbon node, you developed the Green IQ platform to assist business in navigating carbon markets and ESG regulations. You were so kind to give me a demo of the platform, and hopefully soon we'll try to release. What are the current trends that you are observing from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think it's a good time, at Carbon Note where we see we are currently seeing several changes, especially around the carbon markets and ESG landscape and sustainability as well. There's increasing regulatory intensity. Governments across Europe now are ramping up, their commitments towards the climate goals and regulations around carbon emissions, sustainability. They're becoming more complex and more stringent. For example, I think in recent times, we've been speaking with lots of people who are looking at using Green IQ for the carbon border adjustment mechanism monitoring and also compliance monitoring as well. So these because I think these particular areas are creating challenges as well as opportunities for businesses. So that's one area I think many people we've been speaking to who are looking at using Green IQ right now are looking at. Again, I think they are also looking at the fact that you can use data-driven decision making, which Green IQ is able to provide them. Companies now they're kind of now using AI to be able to keep track of these regulatory changes, and also it presents them, I think, the opportunity to be able to stay competitive. And we at Carbon Note, we've been able to build our Green IQ to help them to make these smarter, better, and data-driven decisions to help, especially with sustainability and carbon trading. So that's another thing I think has been of immense benefit in these current times. I think the last one which I would like to touch on, which we're talking about today, is even in South America now, we are seeing that there's an increasing number of people who are they're considering ESG in financial strategies. So investors are placing more emphasis in South America right now on ESG criteria. So if you're thinking of raising funding, or they're looking at your sustainability practices. Are you compliant? Are you working towards these ESG goals? And that is also shaping the decisions of some key players and investors in this space. So that's something else that some of our users and potential users are looking at as well currently.
It's very interesting because usually South America it's not at the forefront of the sustainability transformation. We had a number of meetings and even attempts to promote some of the sustainability um courses and so on in South America. And so far, we were very uh, happy with the demand part.
We just spoke to a client recently who actually said that was part of the decision-making process for their investors. So it means that there's a bit of an awakening. And if the data says so, then it means you have opportunities for your courses now and the trainings as well.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the tip. So that sort of leads me into a supply chain kind of question because in general, South America it's integrated in this very heavily integrated in the supply chains. For instance, Chile in the minerals, especially the EV batteries, and in general, it's a continent or subcontinent which is rich in minerals. It's rich also in people and well qualified people. Uh, the software industry it's improving there. It's improving fast actually. More specific question. It's when it comes to sustainability improvement. You already mentioned the banking industry. But what actionable steps should the companies decide, producing the reports for the banking industry, for the financial industry? What other steps do they need to take in your experience?
Well, I think yeah, with sustainability, it's a long journey. So you need to it's easy to get overwhelmed, but we shouldn't be because what you need to do is basically to start small, and progressively improve. So the first thing I think we start with now is to tell people there needs to be a more robust data collection and assessment. You need to look at where exactly are you currently in your sustainability journey. So when you begin with data collection, you can begin to measure like what ESG metrics really matter to your business. What are the gaps? What tools can we use to be able to help you gather, analyze, and put all this data together? You need to set your priorities right. Once you do that, you can also set some short-term goals. I think building on these short-term goals, and I think is a nice way to be able to, build on that. So you can talk about maybe perhaps you want to look at how to reduce your emissions, waste reduction, supply chain transparency, because these small steps would aggregate into a bigger, more efficient process. So if some companies we've spoken to now, their plan is to reduce about 10% of their carbon emissions maybe over the next 12 months. Then they can now put an actionable plan towards that. Because if you don't have these plans in place, there's no way you can actually have a concrete step that you can take to execute to reach the goals that you've set for yourself. Then when they do that, the next step we look at is what technologies can help you to optimize the process. For example, you can use AI-powered tools like Green IQ to be able to optimize your process, improve energy efficiency, and automated compliance reporting and tracking. So this is where, because once you're able to set those goals, you can now map them to tools and solutions that can help you achieve them. Then there's also the need for regular tracking and monitoring, because if you don't take stock, you'll never know where you are. So these are the kind of ways I think you can all work together, and tools like Green IQ can help you with the automated process tracking, reporting, monitoring. Then you can talk about scaling up. Once you've been able to achieve those short-term goals, that can be part of your wider roadmap towards a long-term sustainability goal where you say perhaps you want to get to net zero at some point. That's the way to do it. So it's easier to start small so you don't get overwhelmed. Create a plan, map out a strategy so that when you achieve those medium-term goals, with the right technological tools at your disposal, that can be part of your wider strategy to achieve the long-term goals.
So, if I understand correctly, you recommend the step-by-step type of process. First, start with an achievable, small achievable goal,
Yep.
and grow from there. Uh, Set up the proper tools. But if we focus on data is it's an interesting. I shall call it an interesting beast because it is very good at spreading around, hiding, very difficult to uh, coalesce together back in a data lake or a. So how do you see tools? How do you see in general tools helping with this data collection? Especially that a lot of data it's also subject to privacy. It's private data to corporate. It's those
Yeah.
financial data and so on.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. One thing, and that's why even at Carbon Note, we've built tools that can let you, just integrate your own private data, where you retain ownership and you can use them on the platform and to get insights that you need. Now, fundamentally, you're able to collect data from different sources and store them. So you need to be able to start by collecting efficient, you need to work out efficient data collection. Then you can use tools like ours to be able to analyze that data without, the risk of losing, proprietary data to maybe a third party like maybe Carbon Notes or any other platform. So it's important to look at fundamentally how to collect those data in a correct way. It doesn't necessarily mean that the data has to be standardized, because in some cases it's very difficult to standardize them in the collection process. But you need to use like tools like ours to be able to help you standardize that, because we built out those tools to help with the standardization of your data, and then you can extract actionable insights from those data which you've collected. So we kind of help you to solve those problems of varying data sources and all that as well.
So connecting the data sourcing or the source of data with the reports you have to produce for the financial industry, as you mentioned, and I'm sort of imagining still Latin America. It's how do you apply the right filters? Because of course, the same data should yield a financial type report, a request for funding, a request for information. On the other hand of the equation, if you want, you have your supply chain, where you have to report according to even different data formats and standards. So help me to unwind this complexity that
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the world we live in right now, because AI is able to sift through complex data at scale. And that's what we've built out at Carbon. You're able to extract these data for the particular purpose. So it's more like right now, I think some weeks back I presented a paper on agentic information retrieval, which is kind of very useful in these kind of situations where you want to retrieve a specific kind of information, and you don't have to use any manual interference. It's an automated process which we've built into our tools. So if you're trying to generate a financial report, it knows exactly what you're trying to look for and is able to present you those insights in a very smart, efficient way. So these AI-driven solutions help with these kind of very complex, unstructured, fragmented data spread across different sectors. We are able to allow you to, connect to your database, present files, images, audio files, all that. You can just dump everything in our platform, and you can use that to generate the kind of insights that you need really quick, really fast, and is a very efficient process.
very interesting. And well, we go a little bit deeper in AI. AI still has a reputation of hallucinations and sometimes making up stuff, which is definitely not the way you want to report either to your customers or to report to the financial data. You mentioned also the European Union, which has penalties for
Yes.
misreporting financial data, especially they consider sustainability, uh,
Yeah.
financial data in this double materiality. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's another very interesting question. I think one of the key problems that's bedeviled generative AI is hallucination. And I think lots of people have spent time working on that. Now, fundamentally, what you want to do in this space is basically to be able to fact check. One, fact check. Two, you use very reputable sources to extract and synthesize your information. So we get information from very reputable sources. We aggregate those information together, combined with what you've been able to give us. There's a fact checking system in place, and I'm just at a very high level. You have this fact checking process in place, and it's backed by a lot of experiment, rigorous testing, and yeah, so this gives you like at a very high level, gives you, very good results that you can trust. We've done these experimentations, we've done these testings, and we've done the fact checking process to ensure that the results you get, what you see is basically what you get and what you can trust. So that's where we are at a very high level. I can just explain to you.
Thank you. And if you think of the initiative, as you mentioned, the sustainability initiatives, maybe parsing them. Okay, I understand the finance industry is pushing for data, including the insurance industries, of course, which is part of the financial industry, and they definitely want to know what is the risk that companies assume. But do you see also a requirement from their customers to produce reports? So, is this sustainability reporting, just primarily due to financial industry? Do you see it as being in-house? People essentially waking up and saying, look, we need to do something about the environment, about the social part, about the governance, or is pressure also from their customers and end users to produce these reports. Have you got a sense of that?
Yeah, I think especially for example in London and in the UK, there's lots of pressure from even from end users for you to be able to show you're more sustainable, responsible. So it's important that you don't have to wait. You can always get these things done just to position you in a better place. Because in terms of in the eyes of your users, in the eyes of investors, in the eyes of even your own business as a business, you want to position yourself in a way that you're socially responsible, to just even your employers, your employees, and the end user. So it's important that you're able to put these reports out without even being pushed to do them. But the regulations are all there as well to ensure that they're being done now. And also end users are looking at companies that are more sustainable. So that's, I think it's, yeah, I think that's the direction that most businesses are looking at especially in Europe and Britain by large, especially.
Yeah, and actually, given the UK versus the EU, do you see an alignment, or UK is trying to set its own regulatory framework?
I think there's is a yes and no kind of question. On some points, they're kind of like agreements, and there are other points where the differences. But overall, I think what is done is it's actually created an awareness where I think is about 80% of even everybody in the UK now are more aware about sustainability goals and drives. And that's really very good because the overall goal is not about who has a better regulation, it's about a broader implication where everyone is actually doing what is best or trying their best and working towards achieving these sustainable goals that are usually outlined for companies. So I think that's the biggest win.
Oh, very interesting. And actually, sustainability, it's a moving target in the US. Without getting too deeper into the changes, but the US is preparing to leave the Paris Accord, and US, it's at least at federal level, it's defocusing or reducing the efforts to sustainability. Do you see this, dynamics are actually reflected in the UK or EU?
Yeah, in some ways it's gonna create like a setback in for yeah, towards the general goal of everyone towards trying to achieve the sustainability goals because the US is a key player and no one can ignore the decisions and direction of play of the United States. But then again, the policies in Europe would affect large a lot of businesses here and it's going to pressure them to be able to comply to regulations across Europe because this day and age, the world is a global village and many businesses are they cross border, they have lots of cross border interactions. So it's imperative that they would, in spite of the changes or the non-compliance of the United States, you're still going to have lots of businesses in the United States that would have to comply because they have to submit their sustainability reports or they're doing business across border, and that means they have to comply to regulations across Europe as well.
And going a little bit on the side of this conversation, climate tech, it's a big industry, it's a growing industry. And one concern we have with AKFI for the US is that by restricting the sustainability, essentially they give the carte blanche to China and to EU to progress in these industries because the industry needs customers. If there are no local customers, it's harder for a US company to do climate tech in other regions. So I know you're working also with climate tech. Any thoughts on where the climate tech industry is and how should will progress?
Sorry, I didn't catch the last part of your question.
Okay, the question is how the climate tech industry, do you see it? What's a staff picture if you are of the climate tech industry today from your observations from going to interacting with the industry players?
Yeah, I think it's actually really positive in the European side and even in South America because from what we've seen in recent times, there's lots of attraction, there's lots of companies now are looking at, we need to begin to think about innovative ways. And even on the African continent, you're looking at more innovative ways towards generate carbon reduction. We have, I think I was speaking to a company that was using negative carbon negative blocks. So you have all these things going into in place. So across real estate, across supply chain, everyone is using AI now to optimize. So the climate tech industry is booming because I think even governments now are beginning to fund it better. Even from the last COP, I think the one in Azerbaijan and the previous one as well, there's lots of budgets now that are being rolled out to be able to supply, to be able to support climate tech companies. And even in AI now, I think I'm going for a conference next month in April, in March in Vienna, and there's lots of talk around, supporting climate tech companies. So I think it's a very viable sector. And AI is really helping to be able to, help companies to be able to like really, really, really use these it provides how would I put it? AI now is really driving this sector because you have lots of AI solutions that is really helping companies to be able to drive towards their sustainability goals, enhance their ESG strategies, and enabling companies to, align with their regulatory changes. So just like what we're trying to do now, what we're doing with Green IQ. So I think these trends are really helping this space, and I think it's really very attractive for lots of players and even newcomers who are coming into this space. It's quite attractive because there's a lot of problems to solve, and wherever you have lots of problems to solve, then that's where you need to go into, and that's why we're here as well to help solve those problems.
Interview Gabriel Toomey from Vienna, by the way. You're probably going to meet him. He was in one of the previous chats, as
Yeah.
well as John Parmesano more recently. And that brings me sort of a question about the carbon credit markets and the carbon markets. And looking from outside in, it's a sort of a foggy picture of where the carbon trading is today. Is it going the right way? And there are different articles about pro and cons for this method. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think just like any other market, the carbon market it has its ups and its downs. It will have good times and also have bad times. But what is more important for you is basically keeping abreast of with what is happening there and seeing how does that impact on you as a business, as an individual, or as even a country on a larger scale. So that's where tools like, AI tools can help you to keep track of that because it's not always going to be looking bright, nor is it always going to be looking bad. So the main thing you need to do is to see how does this impact on you and how can you adjust and navigate within the carbon markets to your advantage as a business. So that's where AI comes in and it can really help you.
How much of again talking about your experiences, how much of the customers are focused on the carbon markets as a tool to reduce carbon footprint versus we talk about envirotech and so on, which is different, right? Sustain uh, how much are the companies sort of trying to figure out which if not both methods to use to reduce carbon footprint and by extension greenhouse gases?
I don't know. Sorry, I still don't get the last
Okay,
part of your
so
question.
the question
Yeah.
is how much do you see the companies focus on which method? Carbon reductions through buying carbon credits, through trading in the carbon markets, or they are looking at more organic ways to reduce it through buying energy from renewable sources or reducing the emissions in other ways, versus again investing in climate tech.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Now, the answer is not linear for everybody. It's not one answer for everyone. It's different, fragmented. Now, for some businesses, it's not possible to they may struggle with just applying one approach. So you may apply a hybrid method where you combine various strategies to be able to help reduce your carbon emission and footprint. But again, the first step is to look at that's why you need to go to the drawing board. What strategy would work best for this particular business? Because what will work for A might not necessarily work for B. When you put that together, and that's where, again, you can use many of these cutting edge tools to be able to help you synthesize and understand your entire process. once you understand your entire process, are there alternatives? Are they, post environmental friendly alternatives? If they are, then you can adopt them in those particular processes of your workflow. If they are not, then you need to consider other options like offsetting and all that. So it's a matter of what exactly applies to you as a business or what applies to you as an organization. When you look at your organization and you can really look at it in a very transparent way, then you can apply various approaches to it, and then you can find what is best. And we're always here to help. And I think you're doing a great job as well in those areas as well. So that's good.
Thank, thank you very much. And I wanted to actually mention a recent article from Microsoft
Okay.
because not so well kept secret is that AI is actually adding to the generation of greenhouse gases. And I read about Microsoft again that it's increasing the acquisition of carbon credits, which of course financially help other companies to reduce their carbon footprint and innovate in that space in technology, in use of AI. So I don't know if you saw the article, but I found it interesting.
No, no, I haven't. I haven't seen the article, but I think the big players, one of the good things about like the big players like Microsoft and Apple, they have a conscious environmental strategy which they're working towards trying to reach net zero. I think I can't remember when Apple said they wanted to hit net zero, but that's really very good because they contribute massively to these energy centers. They're emitting lots of greenhouse gases as well. So this is good. The fact that they're working towards offsetting because um in some quarters people like are talking about, look, you need to just basically not emit carbon, but in some cases it's just not practical. And when it's not practical, you need to look at the alternatives because it's in my opinion, it's always better to do something than do nothing. So if you're working towards a goal, it's better to look at how can you, whatever you contribute, you look at how to offset it rather than just ignore and say, look, you need to find a brand new solution when there's no solution in on the horizon.
Absolutely. Well, and actually dealing with different time curves, right? Innovation and dissemination of innovation, propagation of innovation takes a long time,
Yeah.
sometimes years. As you said, any step method, any step improvements are more than welcome in this
Yeah.
process. And actually, we talked prior to this meeting, to this chat, about the incremental steps that companies can take. And I think you very clearly indicated that when we started to talk about Latin America and starting small and building it step by step. I'd like to change again a little bit the direction of the conversation, and based on your experience, talking to students and young professionals or people. I have in Cornell many people that are coming in the middle of the career and want to get a sustainability certificate. And they have very interesting stories. What advice would you provide to them? What do you think they should do in small and big steps?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you could always go modular, but fundamentally, what I always say is you need to stay abreast of the technological changes because for example, you're in an AI revolution now. So AI presents you a massive opportunity. But for you to be able to tap into that opportunity, you need to be aware of the opportunity. So it's important that you stay abreast with these changes in the AI space because that would help you to be able to, present yourself. You don't necessarily have to be an AI engineer or an ML engineer, but you must know how to use various AI tools to be able to help you extract insights because employers are going to hire you for value. So if you want to be in this space, you need to understand how to be able to extract value and you need to stay ahead of technology. Then the other thing is this space is not linear. It's not one directional. So you need to be able to have interdisciplinary skills. You need to look at things like, technology, how to apply technology, which we've talked about, finance, policy, operations. You need to be interested because if you're not keeping aware of regulatory changes, sustainability goals, how does this impact on businesses? You need to be able to be more interested. So I think passion also really plays a big role here because that will draw you into the various areas which you need to understand. About policy, finance, all these different fragments, I think they come together and they're very useful if you want to be in this sector. Another thing I think would help you is you must have an open mindset towards learning. You must have an open mindset towards learning because every day things are changing in this field. So on one end of the spectrum, you have lots of changes in the tech/AI space. On the other end of the spectrum, you have changes in regulations, compliance, laws. So all this would all come into play. So if you're keeping abreast with all this, I think you'll be a very valuable person in this space, and it will be easy for you to it should be easier for you to get a job because a job is going to hire you for value, and you have that value to offer. Lastly, which I think what you could do is a bit of hands-on experience, whether you go through internship or through research or through real-world projects. If you're someone who has a bit of let's say, for example, you have a bit of AI experience, you could build projects so you can showcase your skill sets that, look, I'm able to do this. I'm able to extract this insights or maybe static data you can get from platforms like Kaggle. And that would be I think it would appeal to companies like us where we want to hire people. We're looking at those who are really interested in working with AI in this space. So you're going to put yourself in a pole position to be hired because you're already interested in this space. You're already doing some work in this space. And it means that it will be easier to integrate you into companies like Carbon Notes because you already have that passion and interest and also the skill set to be able to work in this space. So those are some of the things I think you can do. So if you bring all this together, I think it will be your superpower and it will help you to get into the industry faster.
So it's both a challenge and I'm excited about what you said. It's a challenge because you're going from unidimensional kind of, unidisciplinary, if you want to coin the term. This is how you get specialized in universities, right? You go deeper and deeper, you get a master's, then a PhD, then a postdoc, and so on. And you know more and more about a very narrow and very deep field in the same time. We moved to multidisciplinary, as you mentioned, and actually one of our previous guests talked about transdisciplinary. And transdisciplinary is not necessarily to be master in all disciplines. I don't think our human brain
Yeah.
without AI can do it. But to be able to speak the language and understand the language of the other disciplines, carbon footprint, finance, double materiality, regulations. And I named only a very few of the long list. So, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, hello. I think I lost you for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can hear you now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we have a little bit of trouble. So I can see the link is being a little bit unstable. But really, I want to invite you to the next interview, and I want to conclude on this one with a
Okay.
quick message. The first thing, and mostly thanking you for the time and to visit with us today, and make sure that come and watch every week our new episodes of AKF Actionable ESG, and to gain new perspectives from industry experts on how to mitigate risks and how to take advantage of the sustainability and digital transformation, and especially of AI, as you were so kind to
Yeah.
share with us the progress in that industry. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a pleasure being on your program.
Thank you.